and they solidly defeated the so-called Death with Dignity initiative, which would have legalized euthanasia for terminally ill patients. But this morning, the vote on the abortion rights proposal remains too close to call. President Bush, said to be alarmed by voter discontent and by charges that he spends too much time on foreign affairs, has canceled an upcoming trip to the Far East. But this morning, he's going ahead with a trip to Europe and the NATO summit. State Department correspondent Bill Plant reports.
The president and other NATO leaders will announce a new role for the alliance, expanding cooperation with Eastern Europe and the component parts of the old Soviet Union, now that there's no more Soviet military threat.
We will discuss with the Allies our approach to the historic transformation of the Soviet Union and its republics.
But the new realities of Europe have raised a fundamental question. Should the U.S. continue to guarantee the security of Western Europe in the absence of an enemy?
The United States, in a way, is one of the few countries that has access and influence and has, as it has in the past, the ability to, in fact, bring about a kind of balanced risk-sharing.
U.S. troop strength in Europe was over 300,000. It will be cut in half, maybe deeper. NATO's main mission will no longer be defensive.
The security challenge in Europe has been transformed. It's a different one than it used to be in the past, but there is not to say that there aren't security challenges still on the continent.
The military crisis in Yugoslavia is one such challenge. NATO's charter won't let it intervene, but member states worry about the instability in Eastern Europe and in the Soviet Union. But transforming NATO to deal with those kinds of problems isn't going to be easy. Some countries, like France, would very much like to see a diminished role for the U.S. And closer to home, when the U.S. Congress is looking for ways to save money, the American military commitment to an almost toothless NATO in Europe could be an inviting target. Bill Plant, CBS News, the State Department.
Authorities in the Canary Islands have launched an investigation into the death of publishing tycoon Robert Maxwell. Maxwell died yesterday under yet unexplained circumstances. Barry Peterson has more on the man some called the modern Citizen Kane.
Spanish authorities planned an autopsy on Robert Maxwell's body today, hunting clues to his mysterious death. The crew of the yacht was questioned with no word of any answers as to how Maxwell fell overboard. His wife flew to Spain with one son. His two other sons stayed behind in London and vowed to keep the Maxwell empire going.
We are committed to continuing in the path that Dad set. He was a maverick, he was an entrepreneur. It's a particularly sad moment because this paper has lost its publisher and its chairman and its savior.
His death was page one news, just as so many events of his life had been. Born of Czechoslovakian Jewish parents who died at the hands of the Nazis, he made England his adopted home, served in the British Army during the war, started a publishing business, served in the Parliament. He recently bought the New York Daily News, a milepost in his march to create one of the world's great media empires. He shrugged off recent stories of impending financial troubles, just as he shrugged off recent allegations that he worked for Israel's spy agency, the Mossad.
Mossad stuff angered him as it angered me as well, because there was absolutely no evidence to support it. Nobody's yet produced any. No doubt people will produce all sorts of spurious claims now he's dead.
The mystery of his death is matched by the mystery of how solid is his empire. And the real question now is whether what Maxwell built in life can survive his death. Barry Peterson, CBS News, London.
Now the business news and more on Maxwell's financial empire. Here's Money editor John Stair. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Giselle. And good morning, everyone. Two sons of Robert Maxwell have taken control of their father's publishing empire. As the acting chairman of Maxwell Communications and the Mirror Group newspapers, they are inheriting debts estimated at close to $4 billion. Maxwell had begun selling off parts of his holdings this year. But yesterday, his sons renewed their father's commitment to the New York Daily News, which Maxwell bought last spring. The price of a first-class stamp is staying at 29 cents, at least for a couple of years. The request for a 1-cent increase was not approved by the Postal Service Board of Governors yesterday. The Postmaster General says losing the penny increase will cost the agency $800 million a year, and he warns the next increase will probably be between 3 and 5 cents and will come in 1994 instead of 1995. On the financial markets today, London stocks were slightly lower in early trading. The Tokyo stock market closed lower, the Nikkei index dropping about 200 points, although that is a loss of less than 1%. Wall Street opens the day with the Dow Jones Industrial Average at 3,031. The Dow lost more than 14 points yesterday, but half of that loss was due to a big drop in Disney Entertainment. The Dow component lost 4 5/8 yesterday to close at 113 3/4. Trading in Disney stock was even halted at one point during the day, as at least one prominent analyst cut earnings estimates and removed the company from its recommended list. The Standard & Poor's Index of 500 stocks closed at 388.71. That is down 1.57. Prices fell sharply on the bond market following the weak auction of 3-year Treasury notes. 30-year Treasuries were yielding 8.02% in late trading. That is down more than a full point. And gold opened in London this morning at $354.10 an ounce. That is unchanged from yesterday's close in New York. And that is this morning's business report. Giselle?
Obviously, cutting back and streamlining is working because productivity rose.
Productivity was up 2.4% in the first quarter. This is the biggest rise in productivity that we've seen since the first quarter of 1988. And it's a natural outgrowth of cutting back.
Today, the federal government sticks the food industry with tough new labeling regulations. The idea is to allow consumers to tell at a glance how much fat is in the product they buy, or the exact level of sodium, calories, cholesterol, or fiber. The labeling rules are designed to let people know for certain what's meant by terms such as reduced fat or light. Turning to the nation's weather, autumn continues to behave like winter from the Canadian border into the deep south. The Minneapolis-St. Paul area, trying to recover from last week's record snow, has been hit now with more. We have a report from Amy Marsalis of WCCO Television.
Minnesotans are struggling to dig out and just drive to work. Tuesday's 3 inches added to a record 28-inch snowfall between last Thursday and Friday. Gridlock has been an all-too-common sight on most highways.
Traffic finally started returning to normal in some areas after rush hours that kept motorists in their cars more than double the time it normally takes to go to and from work.
Minneapolis Mayor Don Fraser.
As you've probably heard by now, the city of Minneapolis has just declared a second snow emergency in an attempt to take one more shot at cleaning up the residue of our recent record-breaking snowfalls.
Most schools remained open Tuesday with delays because of buses running behind schedule. All this and winter is still officially 45 days away. Amy Marsalis for CBS News, Minneapolis.
Turning to today's weather map, the satellite picture shows cloudy skies over the Ohio Valley and the Northeast, but most of the region remains dry. Clouds moving over the high plains from the northern Rockies are producing light snow. Later today, that snow across Nebraska and Iowa could result in slick roadways, as up to 3 inches is possible. Snow showers are again likely around the Great Lakes, but the rest of the east will remain dry. The Northwest will get more rain, but not until this evening. It will stay sunny and warm throughout the Southwest. And that is the national forecast. Here's a look now at your weather.
Good morning from the Toledo 11 News Weather Center. I'm Dave Carlson. A cloudy day today and a breezy one. Temperature highs will be in the upper 30s. Looks like that'll be early in the day today. Then temperatures falling in the afternoon hours to around 18 overnight. Few snow flurries or maybe even a little bit of light snow overnight.
Today's dry weather won't help West Virginia and the Carolinas with their forest fires, but some rain or snow is possible for the region tomorrow. And moving on now to sports, with both Rock and Chuck out today, it's up to me to pick up the ball. So let's begin with the Golden State Warriors, off to a 3-0 start in NBA play. Last night in Chicago, rookie Billy Owens made his debut. He was given a quick introduction to Michael Jordan, who led all scorers with 40 points. The Warriors rallied in the final period. Golden State took the lead for good on Chris Mullen's 3-point play. Mullen led the Warriors with 38 points. Magic Johnson missed the LA Lakers home opener. He is still recovering from the flu. Center Vlade Divac also missed the game. The Crosstown Clippers forced an overtime when Danny Manning tied the game at 1:02. The extra period, Aloy Vaught scored 6 points, and the Clippers went on to their first win at the Forum in 10 years. Denver's 7-foot rookie Dikembe Mutombo had an early shot turned away by San Antonio's David Robinson. Mutombo did score 21 points, though, including a tip-in to bring the Nuggets within 1 point late in the game. A turnover led to the winning basket by Reggie Williams as the Nuggets edged the Spurs. The Bullets' Michael Adams went behind his back to finish a fast break against the 76ers. Philadelphia rallied in the closing seconds. Charles Barkley fed Hersey Hawkins for the basket that gave the 76ers a 1-point win. Elsewhere, the Sonics beat the Kings, the Pacers dropped the Suns, the Rockets bumped the Blazers, the Hawks downed the Jazz. It was the Pistons over the Hornets. The Celtics got past the Heat. The Cavaliers won in Dallas, and Pat Riley got his first win in New York as the Knicks defeated the Bucks. Election day was good to Chuck Knobloch. The second baseman of the world champion Minnesota Twins received 26 of 28 first-place votes to win the American League's Rookie of the Year award. Knobloch hit .281 for the season. The National League's Rookie of the Year will be named today. And that is sports this morning. Still ahead on the CBS Morning News, a look back at the career of Fred McMurray. He was the father of my three sons and the star in scores of films.
Mr. Summers and I tried to couldn't you write it over here?
McMurray has died of pneumonia at the age of 83. McMurray appeared in more than 80 films, playing everything from the romantic leading man to the hard-boiled heavy. David Dow has more on a career that spanned half a century.
Fred McMurray hit Hollywood in the mid-30s and seemed to glide effortlessly into leading roles.
Not a very talkative young lady, are you?
Usually, yes.
The Illinois native would become one of America's most durable performers, often playing decent, likable men in gentle comedies.
You do it beautifully. Why didn't you finish the line?
But McMurray was versatile, too. He won his greatest acclaim playing a heel opposite Barbara Stanwyck in the 1944 classic Double Indemnity.
There's a speed limit in this state, Mr. Neff. 45 miles an hour.
How fast was I going, officer?
I'd say around 90.
Suppose you get down off your motorcycle and give me a ticket.
After 3 decades, he was still appearing in hit movies, including The Apartment.
Well, when you've been married to a woman for 12 years, you just don't sit down at the breakfast table and say, pass the sugar, I want a divorce.
But just as his movie career was waning, McMurray and television discovered each other. The result was My Three Sons, an instant hit about a Midwestern widower trying to raise his children.
Well, hello.
Dad, this is Don O'Day.
I'm very pleased to meet you, Mr. Douglas.
Oh, it's nice to meet you, Don.
It would run for 12 years, television's second longest running sitcom ever, and become a model for the star's own life.
He adopted twins, and he said, if I had not played this part in My Three Sons, I would never have learned, I would never have known how to raise my children.
Well, Rob, at your age, I really can't complain too much about you staying out later on weekends, but...
Fred McMurray was 83. My Three Sons lives on in syndication. David Dow, CBS News, Hollywood.
This is the CBS Morning News for Wednesday, the 6th of November. In Yugoslavia, yet another attempt to end the 4-month-old civil war has failed. A peace conference sponsored by the European community broke up after just 1 hour yesterday when Serbian leaders rejected a proposed agreement. Meanwhile, the war raged on and Serbia accused the Croatian army of shelling its territory for the first time since the war started. In the Soviet Union, the desperate state of the economy has forced Moscow to start now food rationing. Coupons are being given out for staples such as bread, butter, and eggs. And as Anthony Mason reports, across the country, some foods are taking the place of rubles as the currency of choice.
Alexander Sarshoff is playing Let's Make a Deal, shopping for clothes, building supplies, items money can't buy in the Soviet Union, but he has something better. Kapusta. Cabbage, as we call it. In the crazy Soviet economy where nobody wants rubles anymore, kapusta has become a currency. Mr. Sarshoff runs this state farm, whose workers, like everybody else here, just want to get through the tough winter ahead. Of course we have to swap for things, say the machete-bearing babushkas, because there's nothing in the shops. The farmers who used to worry about fulfilling the party's annual quota have discovered that there's no end to what a cabbage can get you. He's just bought some food processing equipment. While out in the fields, they're cutting the kapusta to pay for it. Anthony Mason, CBS News, Moscow.
And finally this morning, police in Bogota, Colombia are shaking their heads over a gang of burglars who tunneled into a bank, making off with millions in cash and jewels. The air-conditioned tunnel, equipped with lights and telephones, ran 60 feet from a downtown cafeteria to a vault in the state-owned bank. Police estimate it took 2 months but they can't explain how it was done without attracting anyone's attention. And that is the CBS Morning News for Wednesday, November 6th. I'm Giselle Fernandez. Stay tuned now at the top of the hour for CBS This Morning with Harry Smith and Edie Magnus sitting in for Paula Zahn. Have a good day.